this time around. Life is busy, huh? I know the feeling. All right, looks like we're trying to come up now. Man, spend that much time just in technology, right? All right, good people. How are things going for you? YouTube, anybody home? All right, I see my YouTube family here. Hello again, Hope Lumpkin. Glad to see y'all are some enduring people just like I am. Praise ye the Lord. Yes, yes, yes. We're gonna make it happen. All right, let me change my screens around. Let us get busy into our lesson on tonight. All right, good evening. Sound check, 1, 2. Let's see. How are we looking? I see Maria on YouTube. We had some problems with Periscope and YouTube. Hello, Elia, again. God bless you. I don't see Sharita up here yet. I hope everything's all right with Sharita. Let's see. Where we at on Periscope? Where y'all at? Come on, Periscope. Let me shout you out. Anya Jamison, Joy Nolan, Vanessa May, Caretha Thomas, Brittany Lamb. Where you been, Brittany? I think I said Caretha already. Nessa, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you on. 3 nights left, right? 4 nights left. 1, 2, 3. 4 nights left, if I'm counting everything right. My. Yeah, 3 nights after this we have left. All right, Biggs, my brother. Salinas, Cologne, hello. All right. It's been very interesting. It's been very interesting, to say the least. My life has changed completely. Oh, there's Sharita. I was looking for you on YouTube. Good. Welcome, everyone. See if I can just shout out a few of y'all on Facebook. Nilda Nina, Rhonda West, Sharita, Pastor D, Diane Collins, Priscilla Harris, all. Good evening. God bless you. Christopher Blake, Sylvia Rose, Cherie Shepherd, Rochelle Graham, Renee Holly, Elitza. Who else do we have up here? Elder Terry, blessings to you, sir. Thank you. Joycey, welcome. Diane Collins, welcome. Jay Wright again. Christine Dawson, welcome, everyone. Welcome. See who else I recognize up here. Cherie Barnes, welcome. Teresa Manuel Davis, welcome, everyone. Leona, welcome. Gwen Molden, Leah Arango, Adoria, welcome. Hello, CW, welcome. Latanya Peterson, driving home. God bless you. And Sylvia Rose, the same to you. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to have you on. We're on our 27th night. Can y'all believe that we made 27 evenings of this? 27 evenings. And we went through some serious changes, did we not? I think some of us is probably vomiting, and I think we went through some for real changes up in here. I was writing in my journal last night again, another night where I couldn't really sleep, and I was doing some of the soul work in my journal, and man, it was heavy. And I was working on defining moments, and then all the steps that went with defining moments, and I had some crushing childhood stuff that I just laid there and thought about, hoped that it would go away, but it would not let me sleep. So I got up and I started writing them down, and I had a couple of them from the age of, 1 to 3, or 1 to 5, and then the 5 to 7 type deal. And, I had all those there, and I was writing them in. But I'm telling you, man, This is some serious stuff. Some serious stuff, but I just thank God that we're getting through it, and not in a rushed way, but in a way where we endured it, and we're willing to actually continue going through our self-deliverance, our healing that has been so needed and necessary. Today I finally got out of the house. I have not been out of the house since the new year came in. I like to consecrate, especially during this time of the year, because it's winter, and in the New England area ain't much going on anyhow. But today I went out. I went to see a movie. I did a little shopping, and I had dinner by myself. Today was a very good day of introspective thinking, working some issues out, because I want to be great. And I was listening to a couple of people who wanted to be great, and they realized that what they were doing, they couldn't have the mindset that they were doing it for other people. They had to have the mindset that they were doing it for themselves first. And when we do something for ourselves first, we're not looking for everyone to approve. We're not looking for everyone to agree. We're not even looking for anyone to understand it. We understand that this is the work, the fix that we must do for ourselves. And that's why we're on here, to share it openly, to be transparent. So I feel so much better today. One, of course, because I did get out. But two, because I really worked through, and I think I flushed some things out of my system. I was getting hit heavily in my area with, and I think I heard from a lot of y'all as well, with a lot of regrets on what I coulda, shoulda, woulda. You know, and there were some wonderful people commenting on the poll. If you haven't seen the poll, it's going to end tonight. It's up for 24 hours. See if you can just take the poll, that if you could have a second chance at life and you would change anything, what would it be? And I only was allowed to put up two. And I put up professional life and personal life, because in our dealings in these 27 days, I noticed that a lot of us are doing fairly well in our professional life. And even if fairly well means we're stable, doesn't mean that we're progressing or pursuing greater, but we're pretty stable in our professional lives. But the personal life seems the place where we just can't seem to put that same energy that we put in our professional life. The emotional drain that comes from a personal life, we don't really have as much, or at least we're not dealing with it as many hours in our professional life. So I'm going to do a lot of stuff this year dealing with balancing your personal and your professional life, and why your professional life can be a 10 and your personal life can be a 0. And it's not just for single people, it's even for married people, that, you know, there's so many divorces going on because we have mastered a professional realm, but we have flunked out of our personal realm. And a lot of the answers, or the responses, I should say, from the poll are showing me just that we are doing pretty good professionally, or we're okay with it. We wouldn't really need a second go around for it. I think when I last looked, it was about 25 responses, and 23 said they would redo their personal life. So that's an area that we need to get on, and we need to deal with. So guess who's going to take it on? You got it. We're going to take it on, because that's what we do. We go to the place where no one wants to go. Isn't that wonderful? Well, welcome on. I just wanted to delete that. I didn't want to show that precious little baby tonight. She was such a part of what we were doing last night, and I'm grateful for it. All right, so welcome on. We're here, our 27th day. Things are going well. Not saying that they're easy. Not saying they're where we want them to be. But I got out my defining moments last night, and today I decided that I'm going to take more of my life by the helm, and instead of living in any kind of regret or frustration, I'm going to go ahead and press towards the mark in the high calling of Christ Jesus. If you know what I'm talking about, can you give a hoot? Come on, give me a little holler back if you know what I'm talking about. What's the saying that folks like to say as an excuse all too often? I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And sometimes we've used that to a fault, almost an excuse. But we're not going to use that anymore, because we found out so much about ourselves. So again, welcome on. People have emailed me and asked. We are going to be at the office tomorrow. If anybody wants to come in tomorrow and pick up their material that they've won through the drawings and whatnot, you're welcome to come in tomorrow. You can pick up the material. Will be in tomorrow after 11 a.m. Yep, I got a couple hoot, come on. A couple hoot. We are getting there. So everybody looks good on YouTube, can hear you and see you now. Periscope wasn't working, so I was on YouTube. Periscope and YouTube work through the same camera app that I have, so neither were working. You just happen to be on one that got up before the other one. Thank you, moderator. She's on and in full force. Thank you. YouTube, y'all looking good. Awesome. So welcome on tonight. I just wanted to share that personal bit with y'all that, you know, the teacher has to go through her deliverances and all that as well. And I was doing that, and I'm telling you, it got heavy. Yes, it got heavy. I am not even going front. But I'm going to stick with it because I realized today, as I started out saying, that most people who were great or wanted to be great, and it doesn't mean fame, popularity, or fortune. It just means to leave a mark on the world where you helped somebody and not being jacked up yourself. That's all that I'm defining it as tonight. So they have to go through and do their own work. You know, I was even looking how Ian Lavanzant, some of y'all may have heard of her names. Her beliefs are a lot different than ours, so I can't follow all of what she does. But she made a statement that she first rolled out. Things didn't go well with her, I don't really want to say ministry, but I guess with her coaching business. Things didn't go too well, and she and Oprah here had it out, and she had to fold everything down because she came out too fast before her work was done. She learned a couple of nuggets and then went lights, camera, action, and then life hit her. So she was not ready. She was not sound enough to bring what was needed in her for the rest of the world. So she had to go back, reset her life, go back in and do the work that was necessary, and then relaunch, and seems to be doing very successful this time. So just understand that it is okay that we're working hard, and we're going to do this work that he's called us to do, and we're going to not do it effortlessly, but we're going to do it with the mind of endurance. We're going to endure this thing to the end. It is he that has called us and not man. So let me start here. First, let me ask y'all this. How did you do last night with your exercise? I gave you the smallest portion of it because we don't have time to do it all, but we'll do it in 2019. But how did you do on last night with your exercises? With your exercises that you were listing on paper, all the labels that you have been given in your life. And then try to, by chain connection, find out any labels that you were labeled in your younger life that have followed you into your adult life, either that you bought into the belief or that you're still being referred to as that label. And in some areas, it has restricted your change. It has locked you in to a label of a character. And maybe you wanted to outgrow some things. You know, maybe you didn't always want to be Buki, or maybe you didn't always want to be the black sheep. Maybe you didn't always want to be the one who's not the brightest in the family, or maybe you didn't always want to be the one who puts all this effort in, or the one who does everything for everybody. You know, labeled these things, and sometimes labels have been for the purpose of other people's survival, that they put these labels on you so that you can continue being who they've labeled you to their convenience. And what I'm saying is to a fault. Labels. Yep. Absolutely, labels. We didn't really have descriptions. Labels. Amen. So those were quite interesting as well. I had a floodgate of those, and that was enough now until we restart this, when we have a week to work through it all. Then I'm going to go back and put it all together. So tonight we're going to do it life scripts. I'm not going to hit this too hard as well because it has a lot of exercises with it that we just don't have the time to do in the 3 nights that we have left. So here's our quote from Kevin Welsh. There will be 2 dates on your tombstone. A lot of people have heard this preached at funerals. Oh my God, over and over and over again. There will be 2 dates on your tombstone, and all of your friends will read them. But all that's going to matter is the little dash between them. Isn't that the truth? In this chapter on internal dialogue, you learn that you're engaged in a never-ending real-time conversation with yourself. You learn that your self-talk has immediate and concrete consequences. If the internal dialogue is rationally positive, you are energized and strong. I was thinking about that today. Both your mind and body are functioning from within a zone that opens up new possibilities for achievement. If your internal dialogue is negative, you feel it even at the level of the cells in your body. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers, even down to the itty bitty cells in your body. Your internal dialogue, your self-talk, the negative type, can interfere and alter the very cells in your body. In both comprises and reflects your personal truth and therefore your self-concept. With everything you feel, say, and do, that contaminated self-concept will show itself as you present to the world all kinds of negative messages. The world will, of course, respond accordingly. A tape tonight is what we're going to deal with. A tape is negative self-talk that you have rehearsed and repeated for so long and so often that it has become overlearned. You are an overachiever in the area of negative self-talk. And when you have become an overachiever and negative self-talk within yourself, those conversations only you hear and sometimes you don't even hear, you have become overlearned in them. It can be unleashed without your even being aware that something has happened in your life to trigger it. If some puppeteer were standing above you, controlling your every move, you would want to know it and know it now. You'd be shocked and appalled to learn that you weren't actually the captain of your own life, that you weren't choosing what you did and when. Well, that is the premise of this chapter. First, I want to help you understand how tapes work and help you identify your own tapes. Next, we will look at the fixed and limiting beliefs that form the content of your tapes. Finally, we'll talk about how those tapes yield a life script that, like the puppeteer, is probably dictating the outcomes of your life now. Once you finish this section of the book, I think you are very likely to be thinking, oh, now I get it. Now I know why I keep winding up where I don't want to be in my own life. I was programmed to behave that way and create those results because I was being programmed by powerful thoughts I wasn't even aware of. I want to make sure that you are totally clear about what happens here. They are as natural and uncontrollable as reflex and work as independently as your organs do. Just as your heart pumps blood and your lungs intake oxygen and release carbon dioxide, tapes run on their own accord and without your conscious awareness. Remember, some people thought it was talking to themselves, and we ruled that out last night. What we're talking about is not the conversation you have with yourself. This is the conversation yourself has with you that goes on in your mind, 50,000 of those a day that you are not even consciously aware of. As I suggested earlier, while they have some kinship with internal dialogue, tapes belong to a species all their own. Tapes are long-held, overlearned, lightning-fast, automatic thoughts that, one, totally ignore current input, and two, program you for a specific outcome, oftentimes without your even being aware of it. Puppeteer. Suppose, for example, you met a guy, and after talking to him for a while, you say to yourself, this guy is a total mouth breather. These country slangs, huh? He is so boring. I would rather be home in my fuzzy house shoes eating peanut butter out of the jar. What you've just told yourself constitutes internal dialogue. It is a real-time conversation in reaction to a current situation or a current stimuli. It all happens in the here and now. There, he is there, and you react to him and what is going on right now. Based on your current reactions, you may decide, hey, I'm out of here and goodbye. You might have a whole library of tapes, which might include men are selfish when it comes to relationships. I pick losers every time, so what's the point? Men always use me, so I must deserve it. If I don't nail them first, they will nail me eventually. Notice that each tape, 1, includes a judgment of yourself or others. 2, men are blank, 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 or I pick blank, blank, blank. Or 2, involves a specific context, such as when it comes to relationships, blank, 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 or I always use, or they always use me. Number 3, or it predicts an outcome every time, such as if they don't nail me, if I don't nail them first, they will nail me. Do y'all get it? That each tape includes a judgment of yourself or others. That's what makes it a tape. It always judges someone or yourself. And the example given is men are blank, or I pick blank. That's a judgment. Number 2 involves a specific context. For example, when it comes to relationships, blank, or blank always uses me. They're judgments in specific context. And number 3 was always predicts an outcome, which we're going to be working our way into on closing by Thursday on self-sabotage. In these circumstances, I pity the next poor guy who is standing on your porch, all dressed up, car washed, and ready to have a good time. That boy is dead in the water before he even opens his mouth. It wouldn't make any difference if he were sweeter than Mr. Rogers or better looking than Tom Cruise. He is toast. Why? Because at the core of your self-concept, you are playing these tapes rather than dealing in the here and now. You may not consciously be aware of the existence or context of these tapes, but at the core of your self-concept, you are aware, and the message is danger, protect yourself, pull back, protect yourself. All of your behavior, and therefore the outcome of this relationship, is being determined historically, not on the present facts. You are dealing with the past and ignoring the present. What's more, the determination is happening so fast thanks to these lightning quick, overlearned automatic tapes that you wouldn't even be able to recognize that you have his pour fried up before you even open the door. You can't even see the guy standing in front of you because you are so busy looking over your shoulder at what has happened before. Did y'all hear me? Now y'all know that's good right there. Very good, Yvonne Bowen. Elia, we can help you with that, hon. Predicts an outcome. Very good, Facebook. Protect yourself. That's the warning. Predicts an outcome in specific concepts. Understand that being controlled by your tapes is different from learning from your mistakes. Because that's the first thing I thought when I read it. I said, well, what happened to learning from your mistakes? Understand that being controlled by your tapes is different from learning from your mistakes. Here's why. If you have learned from your mistakes, you will consciously make more informed decisions. Isn't that deep right there? If you have learned from your mistakes, you will consciously make more informed decisions. You know what caught me funny there? The word used, listen what it could have said. If you have learned from your mistakes, you will consciously make more informed choices. But it didn't say choices, because somebody who's learned from their mistakes no longer sees it as a choice. They see this road before them as a decision. Good or bad is a choice. Knowing that I'm not going the bad way doesn't even that's not even an option for you anymore. It's not even a choice for you. So someone who's learned from their mistakes makes the right decision, and they don't see, let's just use good and bad. They don't use good and bad as a choice. If you have a sound mind, if you have a stable mind, if you have learned by your mistakes, you do not see life as choices. You see it as decisions. I think that is so deep right there. Because often we always say we got a choice, and we do. Mind you, we do. But if you have learned from your mistakes, your mind doesn't see it as a choice. I'm an addict. I don't have a choice to use drugs or not use drugs. I make a decision not to use drugs. You have a sexual addiction. You have a problem being loyal. You have a problem being honest. You have have a problem being on time. You know, you have a problem staying committed. And I'm talking about to work or assignments or classes or whatever you've given your word on. So when you have learned from your mistakes, and that's how you know someone you're dealing with has learned from their mistakes or not, because they don't see that I could have done this, but instead I've done this. They see this as a sound mind, decision-making time, not a choice to choose the road that you know does not work for you. All right, they're getting it from me. Very deep. I agree. And I'd love to go in more on that, but maybe I'll preach that on Sunday morning. It's no longer a choice when you know better. It's no longer a temptation when you know better. You are now an adult with a stable mind, and you make decisions, not choices. I know she's no good for me. I know he's no good for me. There's no choice in the matter. I know that I'm allergic to mangoes, and I know that I can eat the other fruit. It's not a choice for me. I make a decision to eat what's healthy for me and stay away from the things that are not good for me. All right, y'all getting it? When a tape is in control, you are not consciously currently making a decision. Y'all hear me? When a tape is in control, you are a passenger. That's how tapes work, and that's what makes them so dangerous. Ooh, I wish I had time to read the whole teaching on that. If that tape switches on just as you go into the next interview, you may find yourself doing and saying the same. You may find yourself doing and saying the kinds of things that sabotage your efforts to make a positive impression. With your speech, posture, gestures, and demeanor, you may emit a persona that says to the interviewer in effect, gosh, I can't believe you're actually considering me for this job. You don't really plan to hire me, right? And the interviewer may sit there thinking, well, geez, if you got doubts, then who am I to argue with you? The tape manifests physiologically. The tapes manifest in your posture, in your speech. You know, you're not talking like someone that has a choice. You are determining the destination of your mind, because you're not a passerby in your life. You're not on the bleachers anymore. You're not passive anymore. You realize that you've got the power, and you are now, by this chapter, not afraid to take the reins of the power that you have been given and start having some authority over your own life. Stop seeing things as choices. And it doesn't mean they're not choices. The Bible tells us, choose ye this day. But when you have already matured in your mind and you're stable, it's not a choice to you, it's a decision. Let me move on. A tape expresses itself as a judgment about who you are in the present. You know, like I told y'all last night, a few of the names that I was called in my family, a few names I was called by my mother, you know, when I was pregnant. They didn't know better. I can't fault them at all. She wanted the best for me. And when I was older, I found out that she was so upset by so many areas of her life where she did not make a decision, that she did not want me or her other daughters to repeat the mistakes that she made, or she didn't want us to repeat the issues in her life that she. So when I got pregnant, and I got pregnant at 16, had my son at 17, she was so mean and so cold. Some days she couldn't look at me, she couldn't talk to me. I'm like, geez, this woman hates me. I'm pregnant. I need love right now, and this woman hates me. Only to find out that she was just so broken, and probably as parents took a lot of the fault on herself. So she began to tell me how this baby that I was carrying was going to be a bastard. And that stuck with me. So it made me love my baby in my belly even more, that you are not going to be a bastard, whether I'm married or not, whether your father is here or not, because that's what she was told. And that was a label that she had on her life. And that label began to talk to her, I'm sure, when she had her 12 children. And then when her children began to have children and they were not married, And the way I was, I didn't even want to be with anybody. I wanted to run around and enjoy my life. So she really just thought I was just a mad woman. I was insane for not wanting to settle down and have a family. I just got pregnant. I got pregnant because you wouldn't talk to me about sex, nor menstrual, nor the power of sex, nor the responsibility of sex, nor the chances of pregnancy. You know, so what happened to me, I can't blame, but there was a progression there of behaviors that was passed down. Stay with me. So a tape expresses itself as a judgment about who you are in the present. So without me saying, can you imagine some of the names that she had called me? But it was out of her hurt and her fear for what was going to happen to my life that she would unleash this wrath on me that she had no idea. It took years of being in the Holy Spirit to get me clean, to know who I am. And because I had a child at 17, it doesn't define me. It doesn't make me a whore. When I got pregnant by the man who took my virginity, I wasn't a whore. I was ill-informed or uninformed. I wasn't nurtured. Do y'all understand me? But it still put a label on me because she told me I was a whore and I was having a bastard. So I had to work for years to get that out of my head. Years. And it would come back and would come back. And it ended up putting me in a cycle of abortions because I didn't want to hear over and over and over again, even when she was dead and gone. I didn't want to hear over and over and over again in my head that I was a whore and I was having a bastard. So the abortions followed. Woo! Come on. Who am I talking to in this place tonight? Are y'all with me or you not? Come on. Different from... Would they be different for bias or prejudice, racism? That's definitely tapes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are all tapes. And the tapes label you because you buy into it when they play over and over and over and over in your mind. And my mom was black and Native American, and my dad was German. And my father's family, you know, they had the smaller behind, the smaller hips, but they had the larger breasts. And my mother's family had the thighs and the butts and the hip and the waist. And my body shape followed my mother's, and my sister's body shape had followed my father's side of the family. And my father would call me the N-word like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. I mean, literally, he would see my shape come through there. He'd be like, oh my God, she got that N shape. And these are things I grew up with, only to understand later that he wasn't racist, but he was racially ignorant. And we were able to help him with that before he left this earth. But labels that I've never confronted them. So who would expect them not to be there? Who would expect them not to exist? Just because we never address them doesn't mean they're going to be erased from the cloud of our memory, the cloud which is our soul. Where does these things go that we have taken in through our senses but have never addressed? Never written them out to make sense of it. Never to get an understanding of what was going on in the situation. Where are we supposed to get this? I'm reading your comments quickly so I can get back over here. Absolutely. Very good. Come on. So a tape expresses itself as a judgment about who you are in the present. A tape looks backwards to your past. A tape looks backwards to your past. Isn't that interesting? A tape is a backward-oriented thematic reaction to your past, to a particular moment or self-observation in your personal history. It is a pre-recorded message with a powerful emotional component. Let me read that again. A tape looks backwards to your past. A tape is a backward-oriented thematic reaction to your past, to a particular moment or observation in your personal history. Listen, it is a pre-recorded message with a powerful emotional component. That's deep. A tape expresses itself as a judgment about who you are in the present. A tape predicts the outcome you will have in the future. A tape predicts the outcome you will have in the future. Thus, my child would be this. Thus, I would be this, and I would always be this. And I had shared with y'all during these 27 days how I had a girlfriend of mine, and she said to me one day, I was getting married before she left, and she said to me, it's funny you getting married. And I was like, it's funny I'm getting married. She said, you're not the settled down type. You will never be the settled down type. And I said, what are you trying to say? I'm going to end up in divorce? She said, look, I'm not going to speak it out my mouth, but all I'm going to tell you is I've never seen you single. I've never seen you alone, and you are not the settled down type. So I'm going to pray for you, and I wish you the best. Neither one of us knew Jesus. We didn't even know a scripture in the Bible. We didn't even held the Bible probably in our hand ever. But she said, I'm going to pray for you because you're always going to be a woman that has multiple dates or partners in your life. And I looked at her like, blew my mind, a defining moment to this very day. I remember it clearly as day. And not understanding that she had picked up something on my soul that wasn't healed, that caused me to run and evade and avoid commitment and accountability. And I was a whore, right? That raised a bastard, right? Labels, 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 labels. A tape predicts the outcome you will have in the future. Deep stuff. All right, let's go down here. Like any other internal dialogue on page 231, your tapes are as unique to you as your DNA. Nevertheless, to stimulate your thoughts about them, you may find it helpful to take a look at a list of common tapes. Messages that I'm convinced are playing in some form or fashion in lots of people's heads. Do any of the following 10 tapes sound familiar to you? Does any of the following 10 tapes sound familiar to you? Number 1, I will never have a good experience. My family was dysfunctional. We never learned how to have fun. Number 2, I am so ugly. My body and face are so different from those of the popular people that I will have to settle for third class. Number 3, my future will be like my past, unlucky and non-productive. I should never expect to be successful because it is not my destiny. Number 4, I have done some bad things and I will never be forgiven. Guilt is just my cross to bear. Wow. People will always disappoint me and hurt me. Number 5, I was abused as a child. So all men will use me for what they want and be insensitive to how I feel. Come on, because I get a lot of coaching out of this one. That's a big one right there on number 5, and I hear this a lot. Let me move on. Number 6, my family was low class. I will be low class. There is nothing I can do to change that. Number 7, my father was a loser. I will be a loser regardless of what happens. How many parents have said that? You're like your mother or you're like your father. You're not going to be this. You're not going to be that. Our family is known for alcoholics. Our family are known for having Jezebelic women in there. I had a woman tell me that. My family is known for having Jezebelic women in the family. And she was accepting it. Labels. I am a leader. Number 8, I am a leader. People look to me to be strong and set an example. I must never show my weakness. I must be strong, never showing my real self for the rest of my life. Oh, I used to think that way. That would break me down. When I was having those tough moments, I would second question my calling. I would second guess God. Did you call the right person? I would call my apostle and be like, I think something's just off. It's wrong. And he would mentor me and coach me into remembering that the call is not mine, that these are all the birth pangs and growth pains that you have to go through to get into the armor of your leadership. But I immediately would say, I can't take the fact that I can't be real. I can't share testimonies. I cannot be transparent. I can't show any weakness. And I must be strong, never showing my real self for the rest of my life. The thought that I must be that way the rest of my life was taking me out. Because what this role was telling me, what this label was telling me, is that if I remained a leader or if I remained a pastor, I would never be able to be my authentic self. Remember, authentic self has nothing to do with your gender. That's not what we're talking about. It's the person God called you to be. That's why I get so fumed and so angry when people try to tell other people how they should and shouldn't do things, where they make it traditional and they make it dogmatic, because you don't know what God told someone else to be that's different from you. And we, especially as believers or Christians, I don't even know if we're believers, we automatically attack the thing that we have not had an experience with. We automatically attack the things that's not even a sin in the Bible, but we just haven't heard about it from God, so it must be wrong. Or they must be devils, or they must be a cult, because of their birthing out something new. Isn't that how they handled the apostles? Isn't that why the apostles was crucified and murdered? Because they was bringing out something that people didn't want, and it was new to them, so they fought what they didn't understand. That's leadership. Heavy responsibility. Yeah, it causes a heart in your mind. Very good. Your mind and your heart. Absolutely. All right, I see some hands going up on Periscope. Facebook saying that's true. Everyone has a different calling. Deep. Somebody's saying number 8. Number 8. All right. Number 9. Laziness is a sin, so I should never relax. Oh, come on, come on. Where's the Marthas up here tonight? You know the church calls them Marthas. Laziness is a sin, so I should never relax. I'm not going to say that I was told that it was a sin, but I was told basically that you don't stop. And till you sleep, you just keep going and moving. That you were lazy if you showed any kind of need to rest, or if you just wanted to fall back and watch a movie, that when certain people would come by, I'd have to get up and start doing things, because I was taught that that's not something that you do. And it gets ingrained in you and you burn out. 10. I am not worthy of people's respect and consideration. I am not worthy of people's respect and consideration. Where did you learn that at? You know, we talked about it last night. The woman who was treated so poorly by her misogynist father, that it taught her that she had no value and that she was less than another gender. And every time she dated or got into a relationship, she was open to all types of exploitation, because she had no self-concept. She had no self-value, no self-worth, nothing. That was me. Learned behaviors. Y'all talking the language. Somebody's saying, ouch, teach us right. All right, we're good. One or more of these tapes, or some version of them, may be at work in your life. I encourage you, as we go forward, to start thinking about what your own tapes include. Let me hit this last definition and we're good for tonight. Fixed beliefs. Fixed beliefs. Now, we know the scripture even says to fix your mind on. Fix your mind on. Let's hear about fixed beliefs. Fixed beliefs reflect your overall understanding of your place in the world. They are fixed in the sense that you are no longer adding or subtracting new information. Fixed is like a decision instead of a choice. They are perceptions that have become rigid and unchanging. Fixed beliefs go with you everywhere you go and are basic to every part of your life. Isn't that something? They tell you where your boundaries are. Most people that I talk to aren't even aware of the word boundaries unless it's in the athletic realm. They don't even realize that they are supposed to have boundaries in every relationship they have, with their children, with their friends, with their employers, with their intimate relationships, with their domestic relationships. Everyone is supposed to have boundaries, and both parties are supposed to be aware of the boundaries. When you don't have boundaries, you are a passerby in your life, stressed out, worn out, feeling used to the max, feeling as if what was the word we learned earlier on? That you are a contaminator instead of a contributor. That's exactly how you feel, because they contain your expectations about what ought to happen in your life. And when you don't have boundaries in relationships, neither of y'all have any expectations. So people are expecting from you that which you are not even aware of. So you are disappointing people without even knowing it, because I never promised her I could be that kind of friend, but in her mind, that's the kind of friend that you promised her. Because that's what she thought being friends with you was going to commit to, or dating you was going to be. That spending 5 years with you, waiting for you to grow up, you would eventually marry me. But when I break up with you, you're cool with the breakup and you're moving on with somebody else. Because I never set boundaries. You have to have boundaries in every area in your life. Hear me. Whether the issue is your relationships with the opposite sex, your fulfillment in the working world, or your interactions with your children or spouse, your fixed beliefs exert a powerful influence. Boundaries. As you know from watching the evening news on TV, the anchor person typically has an electronic bug in his or her ear, a tiny radio through which he or she takes instructions from the off-screen director. If a particular question needs to be asked, if the show goes off track, or if a commercial is coming up, the director can send orders and nobody but the anchor person can hear them, thanks to that little earpiece the anchor person wears on script. In a similar fashion, you are subject to a life script, a set of instructions that tell you how to run your life. What is a script? In a game of word association, what would your response be to that word? If I said script, you might reply with any of the following statements. A script is a word to play or a movie. The script tells everything that happens. It contains the beginning, the middle, and the end of the production. When you know the script, you know how everything turns out. The script is like a recipe that tells how all the ingredients come together. A script guides all the tasks related to the play. It's what the actors memorize. The script is the overall plan that everyone is supposed to stick to. When the actors get lost, the script gets them back on track. We would probably agree that a script is what gives the play its meaning. We would agree that the script affects the choices made for the entire production, dialogue, costumes, castings, locations, and scenery. In addition, after a certain number of rehearsals, listen, the actors put down their typewritten scripts and simply become the characters. Are y'all with me? Is this registering with you? Please tell me you can catch this and hear it. Can you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth from off the pages of this book? This is what we're talking about, defining moments. 10 defining moments, 7 critical choices, 5 pivotal people, labels, internal dialogue. They become scripts in your life. And let me read this again. Once you have the scripts worked out inside of you, you will put the scripts down and become the characters. Man, I don't know if y'all messed up tonight or if you getting it or not. Maybe when y'all get y'all one-on-ones, it's going to blow you away. This is amazing. Amazing. If you are living by a script, maybe written by your earlier years, maybe written by someone else, do you know what it is? Are you living your lines and following your script? Is it what you would write today if you were writing it all over again? Are you spending your days doing what you would write into your script if you could? Are you doing what you're doing where you would choose to do it and with whom? Does your script have you spending your life pursuing what you really want, or did that get dropped from your script a long time ago? Have you outgrown or just evolved away from the script? As I suggested earlier, the script of life that you are living builds on and draws its strength from certain cornerstones called fixed beliefs. Your fixed beliefs tell you what role you are playing. You have practiced your script so much and for so long that beliefs you have about you, about your possibilities, about your responsibilities, do in fact become fixed. They become set in stone, but it is a stone that I intend to chip away. I don't know if I want to go into this part right here for the sake of time, but we'll deal with it in 2019. Let's see if I want to hit that before we get out of here tonight. All right, I'll deal with this one line and then we'll hit limiting beliefs and we're out. Let's look more at how dependent your script is on fixed beliefs. Fixed beliefs describe the action, They provide you with a framework for understanding the events in your life, and they influence your own reactions to those events. Fixed beliefs provide you with the words you say. Just as your internal dialogue supplies you with your lines, the fixed belief is the censor of those lines, making sure you do not get too far ahead. Fixed beliefs tell you how things are going to turn out. They shape your expectations about your outcomes. They anesthetize your fear of the unknown by pushing you into the direction of something knowable and familiar, even if not fulfilling. Sounds like it works with fear. Let me move up here some more now. I'm going to start this page, and then we'll get off of this internal dialogue. If you are approaching your life, no, I'm going to have to skip that. And then we have limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. The point is that most fixed beliefs are also limiting beliefs. The things that we fixedly believe about ourselves are typically negative. And so we tell ourselves that however it is something we can't do, don't deserve, and are either not qualified. And then identifying your own tapes. We'll end here. Identifying your own tapes. At the beginning of this chapter, you learned that your tapes are so overlearned that they play at lightning speed. The good news is that you can slow them down. You can slow them down to a speed that can be heard and analyzed. You do that by listening consciously and by asking yourself key questions about what you believe at various times in your life. What are the tapes in your life? Be patient with yourself. Come on, y'all. I'm reading your emails. As you stop and listen for your tapes, stop. Take a breath before you make assumptions. Take time to question yourself and write your thoughts down. Doing the following exercise might require several days of listening, analyzing, and recording. Use your private journal for each of the following exercises. I'm just going to give you one. Assume that you're going to meet someone with whom you respect tremendously. Perhaps a celebrity, a very healthy and powerful person, or someone whose values and beliefs you hold in high regard. This could be anyone you admire for whatever reason. Normally, you would not interrogate yourself before having this encounter. You would just do it. You might or might not be uncomfortable, but you would just do it. This time, as you consider this hypothetical meeting, I want you to question yourself very carefully. It will be important to be totally honest and extremely thorough. If you know you would be intimidated, then acknowledge that. If you would be scared, acknowledge that. Anxious or feeling dumb or undeserving, then admit that to yourself. In anticipating this meeting, what specifically are you telling yourself? Take time to think about it. Write it down. The words that underlie and describe however you would be feeling as you approach this encounter. What you write down will be very important content for your tapes about you, your adequacy, your value, and your worth. All right, I'm done with that for tonight. I'll say this, and hopefully this will help you get through a little bit. I believe in servanthood. I believe it. It works well for my leadership. It works well for me when I'm serving my leaders. I believe in servitude, not slaveship, not subservient. But I found out one day, with talking to my apostle, people were giving him, they were giving him points. They were giving him credit for how humble, that's the word, how humble that I am. And they were just saying how humble and giving she is, and the grace and the mercy and the long suffering. Oh, they were going on. And he just turned, and he never gave me any further explanation than the word. And I never went to him and asked for more. But it became a defining moment in my mind that I kept there. And I think Apostle Bill could have said this to me maybe 5 years ago. It could even be 10. I don't have it dated like something that I need to forgive, but it's in there because I knew he was speaking something to me. He said, there's a difference between humility and someone who doesn't love themselves or doesn't appreciate themselves. And he said this in front of the people who were giving him props for how humble I was. And I sat there, I said, so he's trying to say I'm not humble? What he's trying to say is I'm more of a doormat. He's saying there's a difference between being humble than someone who doesn't know themselves or doesn't love themselves or doesn't appreciate themselves. And like most things, I said I'm going to keep it and I'm going to investigate it no matter how many years it takes. I never went to him. I wish I did, but I think then I was still working through a lot of my rejection, and I just couldn't take him telling me some truth about my life that I was just too sore and vulnerable to even hear. So I just kept it in the back of my mind. And going through the self matters and authenticity, I found out exactly where it is, why it is, and where it came from. And it was a label that became a part of my life from being a little girl. And I am devoted to completely demolishing this label in my life before 2019 is over. I'm working out every process, every thought, every worst case scenario. And like he said, when you have good internal dialogue, you get in the zone. I don't want to just have zones. I want to walk in the authority that Christ has given me for my life. So I am committed to working this out and walking this out. Well, that's my testimony for tonight. I hope that it helped y'all. Another person said, awesome teaching. This is great. Very good. Facebook. Periscope. All right. Limiting beliefs. Mic drop. Deep boundaries. And Periscope, YouTube is pretty all right as well. All right. That's it for tonight. Man, I love y'all so very much. Most of y'all I've met personally, and a lot of you who I have not, I hope too. But I love you all. Thank you for being on tonight. Let's conclude our business, and I'll see you on tomorrow night, which we will only have about exactly 3 nights left, 28, 29, and 30. If we end on January 31st, because we started January 2nd. All right. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in good